Okay, so this is a tutorial for how to make a seamless repeating drawing using no digital tools and just a piece of translucent material. In this case, frosted mylar. And the main takeaway from this is that we're just paying attention to the kind of two bounding lines for our repeat pattern. So if like we take any generic repeating pattern like this, and we're paying attention in our case to just the direction of the repeat here, then what we care about are these two lines, and we want to make sure that this element or any given element along this line lines up with this line down here. And it's fairly simple to do that with a translucent piece of material. All you really need is some of this transfer paper, which might come in a box that looks like this in any one of these colors. You are also going to need to follow along in this tutorial a ruler, probably an eraser, definitely some sort of pencil that you can erase. We're going to be making a screen printing positive in this, so really the quality that we need in the pencil is we can either remove it without removing the rest of our drawing, or it's not going to show up when we expose the screen. So certain types of pencils might do that. You'll need the ink or whatever dark drawing medium you're going to use, and you're going to need some paper to use with the transfer paper. And then it's also very helpful, like this mat is our friend. And in fact, I am going to go ahead and tape it down just so I can like keep it in place. And what that'll like give me the freedom to do is kind of futz around with it without worrying too much about lining it back up with the grid lines underneath. You could do this without these grid lines. The only key thing is that you have like two parallel lines. So you could arrive at that some other way, but this definitely makes it simpler. So to start, I am going to draw in the boundaries of my drawing. And I'm being careful to be a little bit within the boundaries of the paper because I'm expecting my drawing to extend beyond the edges when I try to make the repeat happen. So I'm gonna be a little less generous on these sides. I don't necessarily need these other lines. I just need to know like where this line starts relative to this one. So like I need to mark this point and this point and this point and that point. But I don't necessarily need all of that. And then I'm gonna do a drawing. Okay, and so now the question is like, okay, like how do I make this one continue over here and this one continue over here, like exactly? And that's not too hard. All I have to do is get some transfer paper. So I'll position my paper underneath. And so the transfer paper, the transfer side is down, and then I'm just going to trace the boundaries of this. You know, I might go a little further, and I'll go here a little further. And then this is important. I need to mark this line in these 2 points. So I'll get my ruler back out, and I'm going to try to be as precise as possible. So I'm going to go right over this line again, and I'm going to mark that point, and that point falls off, so I'm actually not going to worry about it. And then I will move my transfer paper up, and you can see the drawing is now here on this other piece of paper, and I'll do the same thing. I will make my line, And then I'll trace. Okay, and then transfer paper out. So now I have the edges of the drawing. And now it's fairly simple to change the location of this information and bring it down here. And I'm lining up this point with this point. And then I'm just making sure the line is good. And that, I could be slightly more precise, but that's good enough for right now. So now I know, actually I can see that this guy is going to get rather close to this. So, you know, I might go in and make an adjustment here to correct that, or I might not worry about it. And then I can see where this guy is going to continue. And so I'm going to, and if I were a better practicer, I would have drawn the edges of that fill too. And in fact, I might do that just so I have the information. So I'll go back. Okay, so now I know like where the black over here extends down here, so I can fill it in, and I'll just go past it just a little bit. That's really a decision that comes down to the printing process, like how much like you're registering like each tile to overlap with the next. For now, we'll assume like we're gonna be able to print these like really well registered, so we won't have that much variance in how we do it. So I haven't left that much overlap, but you certainly, like if you're anticipating being a little looser, you could leave a lot of overlap. You could even make your overlap a part of your design. Likewise, we want to finish this guy over here, so okay, so now we see that this thing will come in here. We actually have like a lot of room for like a tail if we wanted to, so I think I'll add a tail. And I did trace that a little bit. That is going to print on top. That's fine. And then the only other thing I thought I would solve for is the point where these guys touch a little bit. You know, I might go back and adjust this, or I might say I don't care, or I might like make it part of the design. Like let's say like it is part of the design and they're like touching a little bit. And we'll even like draw that so like we guarantee that it touches a little bit every time we print. Yeah, and then I can remove this. And so this is it. This is like a fully functional positive for screen printing. The only last thing to do would be to erase these lines, which I'll do in a second. But it repeats in this direction, and if like we printed this right here and then we took the screen over and printed it up here, we'd only have to move it exactly this distance from this point to this point for it to be like perfectly registered and line up right here with these elements that we have. And that distance is 4.5 inches. The only last thing to note is that I've left this line like visible on the positive, and that's because in registration for screen printing on the light bed, we need to make sure that the positive is parallel with the edge of the screen, just for like ergonomics, and so we can like move more quickly in the printing process. So if I remove this from my board here, like let's say we're always moving the screen in this direction. Well, in that case, like we'd want the positive to be parallel with the edge of the screen. And so this line will help us do that. Like we'll literally like, when we're laying down the screen, we'll make sure that this edge and this, or this point along this line and this edge are the same distance as this point along this line and this edge. And so this is it. That's how you would make this positive without using a computer. Again, this only requires some transfer paper and keeping track of your lines and your bounding lines.